Alright, so this is actually not really a vlog, but it's actually a little bit, well, let's just say it is a vlog. Anyway, someone took an interest in was a little curious about my zombie movie, so I'm gonna basically explain, the plot, a little bit of the plot a little bit. Um, so basically, my idea for this movie is a combination between Dawn of the Dead and Red Dawn. It's, um, I'm not going to use the Dawn of the Dead plot where they stay in a mall for so and so time, and then they leave just because shit's going down. Um, so I so the movie starts off with the main character waking up, and for some reason around his neighborhood it's just like completely quiet. He hasn't seen a person all day, and he drives around, and cars are basically you know left in the street. So he goes back to his place. He calls up his best buddy, and he says, if he's seen anybody, and his friend says no. So basically, um, he's still out. He's outside talking to him, by the way, on his cell phone. And so he actually sees someone down the street, and he says he found someone, and he says to give him a second. So he goes down the street a little ways, and he notices that that the person started running, and he looks and he sees that it's a zombie. So what he does is he runs back to his house, grabs a shotgun, and just blows that damn zombie's head off. Then comes where the plot kind of thickens a little bit. He calls up his friend, and he says that he was just attacked by a zombie. He says to stay there. He'll come pick him up. Don't open the doors or nothing. So after he gets off the phone with him, he calls his girl, who's in another state that's not too far, that the next state over or whatever, and he calls her and tells her what happened, and he tells her to stay there, that he will come and pick her up. She just needs to give him a few hours, and he'll come pick her up. So the main character goes and picks up his buddy, and when he does, about five or seven zombies show up, and the main character is basically shooting off every shotgun round that he has. He runs out with two zombies left, and his buddy brings out a pistol, and he just shoots both of the zombies. So they get into his car, and they actually drive a little ways to a gun shop, and they get into the gun shop. They break in. They take a few assault rifles and a few pistols, and they also take the ammunition as well. So they go down. They're starting off to the highway to go pick up his girl, and they get there, and so they. While they're looking for her, they come in contact with zombies. They got to kill them. They get her out. So they get her out, and they go back to where they were. So his girl actually says they need to pick up they need to pick up her family, because she called and her family's still alive. So they go and pick them up, and on the way they pick up 3 more survivors, and so they pick them up. And then they head out to an abandoned baseball stadium, and so just to hide out for a little bit. And so they find a few other survivors there, and so the main character, he talks with a few of the survivors, and he says the only way that we can survive is we got to go to Alaska. And he says the only way, he says, this is just me this is me taking the red versus blue zombie plan, because they said that Alaska would, the zombies, their body heat would drop and they would freeze. So that's where I got the plan. That's where I got the idea from. So and I'm not gonna be copywriting it though, but I'm gonna give him full credit. So they tell him the plan, and they gotta go recon a ship, so that way they don't get on it and there's like a ton of zombies and they die. So about 7 of the survivors, including the main character, goes, and also his girl's dad goes along with them. So they go and recon the ship, and they do find a bunch of zombies. They got to kill them all, and in the process, 3 of the survivors are killed, including his girl's dad. So, so they go back. They're pissed off and everything, and so the plot thickens where one of the survivors, he just decides to take one of the guns and holds it to the main character's head, because also his friend, the guy who's holding the gun up to his head, his friend died, and he's blaming him, and he's saying, don't do this. You're just, we're not the enemy. They're the enemy. So after he convinces them to put the gun down, they get ready to go to the ship, and so they get into the truck, so they get into the truck and they get to the harbor. So they park a little ways from the ship for some reason, and this is where a really big battle goes on between the survivors and the zombies, and all hell breaks loose. They start firing off, and 2 other survivors are killed in the process. And so the remaining survivors, they finally get onto the ship, and they take off, and they finally get to Alaska. And they also and when they get there, towards the end of the movie, they find out that there's a lot more survivors around the United States. They've and they're trying to find a cure for this outbreak, and so they stay there in Alaska until everything is good. So there you go. You just heard basically a plot summary of my zombie movie. I'm actually going to be sending this to one of my followers who is interested in it. I hope he likes it. I hope you guys liked it too.